Coming up on the show today, all the big TTRPG news. Boom, pow, zing. Stay tuned.
Are you ready to get casual? Grab your favorite adult beverage or combustible plant and join us for our roundtable TTRPG discussion. Oh yeah, it's time for Casual Friday. And now, here are your hosts.
So I used to spend a few minutes before each show writing out an intro, but clearly I don't need to. It just flows out of me every week. Obviously, hey, what's up? This is Casual Friday. I'm Jim. That's Brad. That's Ryan. And today we are talking about all the newest news in the tabletop role playing game industry. And the first thing that we are going to talk about is we are right on the cusp of the only thing I've really been excited for from Wizards of the Coast in a while, and that's the new starter set. And we're getting a look at one of the PC boards from this, the level 1 cleric, and it has level 2 on the other side. But I thought we could take a look at this a little bit, because I think this is pretty cool. Some of it we've already seen. This layout kind of reminds me a lot of the Daggerheart playtest character sheet was kind of like this. I mean, they're not the only TTRPG to ever use a character sheet that had you place things on it. You know, that's been a tradition. But so one thing I noticed here, this cleric, if you use a shield, you can't cast spells. Is that in 2024? Ryan, you're our 2024 expert.
That has me so scared. I don't know. Because as a person who is running one campaign and is playing a cleric in the other, like I'm definitely the old like, oh yeah, the holy symbol goes on the shield. That's the end of that conversation. Did we change that? I didn't catch that. I don't know. Chat, help me out if you have opinions, but like that feels wrong to me. I mean, from a game design standpoint, I like difficult choices like that. So cool. If that's what we're doing, I'm with it. But like that was news to me.
Yeah, and then there's nothing about the restriction here related to weapons. You would think if that's the case, there might be some text here like, if you want to cast spells, you could carry a shield, but not a weapon. Because I mean, if we're going to enforce handedness, at least make it logical, right?
Mm-hmm.
That I should be able to choose. But maybe, it's possible this is like some kind of old typo-ridden playtest image that they're still using for marketing.
Mm.
The marketing team have no idea what is the most recent version of the product.
And this is
Um,
also we're looking at an article on EN World too. This isn't like on the WotC website, right? This is who EN.
True. Yeah,
This might be old news or something.
that's a good point. I don't think anywhere in here it says that this is confirmed. Um, But what I like that it gives you some tips for playing a cleric. It gives you, tells you the equipment cards that you need to get. I like that level 2 is on the other side of the board instead of having you change things because tell me if you've had this experience before. You're leveling up a new player from 1 to 2 for the first time ever, and you're just telling them, okay, that +1, erase that and change that to a +3. And they're just doing it. And you can tell they have no idea why they're changing these numbers. And your explanations of why the numbers are changing are not sinking in.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this better. Just flip the board over and the numbers, the numbers are updated to what they're going to be.
You know what this reminds me of are the playbooks from Powered by the Apocalypse.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
When I started running D&D for the club at my wife's school, I made playbooks modeled at, so they were D20 D&D themed playbooks, but I modeled them after the playbooks from Powered by the Apocalypse system, and those kind of cheat sheet things that I made look very similar to these boards. So I think this is a good outgrowth, like development of like what we've seen in the industry, improving the quality of gameplay with solid design. and I'm racking my brain trying to remember the OSR game that has has your equipment and little chits that you have to arrange on your character sheet.
Mouse Ritter does that.
Mouse Ritter,
Mouse
that's the one.
Ritters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably
So
not the only one.
no, there's been other examples, but like drawing on experience and development from Mouse Ritter and Monster of the Week or other Powered by the Apocalypse games to kind of arrive at this design, I think shows like the growth of our hobby and the growth of our industry.
I find such value in getting back to a beginner's mindset out of the gate and just re-examining everything from first principles, because there's like 50 years now of legacy and a bunch of built-in assumptions that like you don't even realize you're making until you actively start to strip it all away. So to like redesign a character sheet so that you can hand it to someone who's never played a game like this, I think saves like that very left column, the abilities. Perfect. No, like that's what it always should be from here on out. I understand having the skills in alphabetical order is maybe easier, arguably, but like here's your wisdom modifier, not some abstract number that has nothing to do with anything because you're not rolling 4d6 anymore. +3 for wisdom. This is your save right underneath it. These are the skills that are wisdom based. So it's all clearly in front of you. I love that. And it should always be like that from here on out, in my opinion.
Having the skills in alphabetical order is easier for people who already know what all of the skills are and do.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's easier for people who are familiar with all the skills. This system is way better for people who are not familiar with the skills, e.g. in a starter box set. Like they're doing it right. I totally agree.
Well, and if you're playing 5th edition rules as written, right, or 5.5, the rules say make a strength check, make a dex check, right? The make an acrobatics check, that's old language from 3rd edition 3.5, right? The actual rules tell you to make a an ability score check. And then if you have the appropriate skill, you add that, right? That's actually how the rules are written. It's just so many dungeon masters have like, the artifacts of previous editions in their head. So, we're not using the language of the rules as written when we're doing this.
And I've never heard someone say make a wisdom insight check or whatever, make a dexterity acrobatics check. I've never at a table at an actual play, like no one speaks like that. But that's how it's always written. And if the layout was like this, you actually might hear. I don't know if you'd hear more of it, but it would make more sense at least.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is this layout actually matches the way the rules are written.
You got to think that you're right, Ryan. They're always written like that. It'll say acrobatics, dexterity, and I got to think maybe when they were designing 5th edition, they thought that people would use other ability scores more often. Like the idea of making an intimidation parentheses strength check. That maybe they thought that would be more that people would use a dexterity performance check or a intelligence insight. That there would be more of that, but because it is always those extra parentheses with the 3-letter thing of the actual skill it's using is very unnecessary. But it is
I have
one
a
of those
question.
design quirks.
Do you think laying out a character sheet like this would actually make it more likely or less likely that you would see more of that flexibility of like Arcana being like, well, Arcana's a bad example maybe, but like doing intimidation strength? Is that more or less likely in this format, or is it absolutely the same perhaps?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if I have an opinion yet.
Yeah.
I know I really love this playbook style, and I wish that my hopes, seeing this starter set has got me thinking about 6th edition and my hopes for 6th edition. And one of my hopes is that they will adopt more of a playbook style with their character sheets, and that you can uh, uh, give a person everything they need to play the game, because that's like the mentality behind the playbook, right? Is like the mentality behind the playbook is you can play this game without buying the rules because the playbook tells me everything I need to play this particular class or
Right.
particular whatever in this game. And it's very Powered by the Apocalypse. Most of those games haven't. That's one of the things that Daggerheart took from Powered by the Apocalypse is that playbook style sheet. And I think from a design perspective, it makes it way easier to make a game modular and add classes, when you can include more of that info in the book. Like Wizards of the Coast can never release a class in print, right? It's
Right.
6 pages. And you still have to print out a separate character sheet, even if they did release a class, right?
Right.
But I think that more modern games with everything included in the playbook style is better, and you sell more stuff. Because how many people playing 5e do not buy the core book?
I'd go
I
a step
think
further, and how many people are not playing 5e because the barrier to entry is purchasing and assuming you have to read the core book, right? So it's like, it's $60 for this game, and I have to read 300 pages. Like, that doesn't sound like fun to me. I'm gonna go play Monopoly or whatever the hell.
Settlers of Catan.
There you go.
The what would be interesting, because I just saw Nacho's comment about D&D Beyond character sheets being a nightmare. What if like you developed a template like playbook style system with cards, and then your digital version actually looked just like this and had cards that you could click on and move, right? I mean, Wizards of the Coast makes Magic the Gathering Online, right? They know how to make a digital card system, and make it animated and move and all that sort of stuff. Like, you could do a similar thing that would be far less complicated than Magic the Gathering with the character sheets card-based system. So you could actually have physical cards, kind of like Daggerheart does, or you could have a digital version where the cards pop up on your screen and you click on them and you cast Fireball on the card, like, you could do all sorts of cool stuff with that. And it would be far more intuitive and much easier than, what we get in D&D Beyond.
And it feels like it goes without saying, but we actually had this conversation in chat when we were talking about initial Daggerheart of like, do you need the tokens? Do you need the cards? And like, to me, it's obvious that the answer is no, but it's like, you can do this by yourself, right? You don't need to go buy the starter set or have someone's spell cards. Like, you can write this stuff down on index cards to make it easier for you or new players. You could get poker chips to track HP. I think that's probably not a great solution in D&D 5e once you start getting to higher levels, unless you start having different increments too. You got 10s and 20s in there. But you can track your spell slots in different ways. The difference between a pie graph and a bar chart, it's the same data, it's the same information. So you can figure out what works for you and your players, and maybe your players are younger or approach things mentally or physically different than the way you do. There's a ton of options here to achieve the same thing in different ways. And if you haven't opened yourself up to that or potentially experienced it, you might not even know that this is better or worse for you. So like, I'm not saying go spend $50 on the starter set. I will, but hey, you want to switch out, you're having trouble tracking weapon masteries? Like, maybe if you wrote them down on index cards and swapped them out, you would have an easier time. You can't track your spell slots, get some poker chips, get dimes and quarters. Do people still have money? Are we still, is that a thing still?
I predict there's going to be a lot of reviews when this comes out of people saying that this is great. This is what sixth edition should be. Why can't they just make it this simple? And I think if you look at these resting rules, after short rest, regain 4 hit point tokens, restore 1 expended power token. After a long rest, regain all hit point tokens and expended power tokens. And that sounds great, but this thing only goes to level 3. Like that's not this sort of simplicity is not sustainable for a 14th level PC. So this like the simplifying of it works great for a starter set where it's just people, it's going to be some 11-year-olds in their pajamas on Christmas morning opening this while a dad frantically skims through the rules and be like, I kind of get it. Okay, kids, let's go to the kitchen table. And you want simplicity for that, for the Christmas morning test.
Yeah, exactly. But imagine if you like went the Shadow Dark route, right? And you only had 10 levels instead of 20. Then you could sell character class packs that have 5 boards in them. Each board has 2 levels, one on each side. So your character class pack would have 5 boards and a deck of cards. I mean, how many players would buy that? Like, I think like everybody, right? So if you streamline the game, not taking it all the way, like dialing it all the way back to as basic as Shadow Dark is, but you could definitely turn it that direction a little bit. Maybe draw in some of the OSR folks who've left, WotC products. And you have a fast-paced, streamlined system for character creation and faster gameplay. And, none of us, well, very few of us played a 20th level anyway, right? So, I think that could be a really great direction for the game.
Could be.
For a while, I thought it was my preferences peaking and troughing, but it's been pretty consistent that the longer I do this, the shallower I like the power curve to be.
Mm-hmm.
The mega power fantasy thing is cool when you first get started, and then once you've had experiences in play, it's less and less interesting. It grinds the game slower and slower. It makes it way harder to manage. I like choices and options in character creation, perhaps, or leveling up, but in play, it gets real clanky. It starts to fall apart. I mean, we're level 15 now in one of my games, and man, I'm looking forward to level 1 again. I'll just say it that way.
Yeah, I mean, my group is transitioning to Shadow Dark. Over the summer, we played a bunch of Shadow Dark one-shots. Everybody loved it. We also played You Dare, so everybody loved that. So my whole group is like, oh, we don't need all this weighty rule stuff anymore. So I've just exposed them to different, more modern, streamlined games, and and my players are eating it up. Like, this is so much better. It's so much faster. So much more interesting. So we're moving our new campaign to Shadow Dark, starting up next week.
I am also playing in a level 20 campaign right now, and it's fun. It's very slow, very slow. Everything takes forever to adjudicate because everybody has some way to alter the last roll. That's what takes forever. No dice roll ever just goes through. Somebody's got a way to change it, to spend a sorcery point to do something to change the roll, and so it's still fun. Just takes forever to resolve anything. But anyway, moving on. The next thing that we are going to talk about is, you might have heard, I think it was last year or maybe 2 years ago, about a D&D exhibit, some kind of immersive LARPing indoor LARP in Toronto. Well, I didn't pay that much attention to it because I wasn't going to go to Toronto, but it is coming to Plano, which Plano is it was a rinky suburb of Dallas until a bunch of ex-Cowboys players started retiring there, and now it's one of the richest places in America. So it's coming to Plano, so if you want to go spend $40 for an hour.
Surprisingly affordable, but then it's 1 hour.
Yeah, so you go in and play some mini games, basically reskinned as Dungeons and Dragons challenges. And if anybody out there is near Dallas, we're going to be there near October. When is it? It just says October. We would love for you to go and send us some pictures and tell us about it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's good exposure for the hobby, right? Like, if this sounds like the type of thing like I'd take my kids to, and my kids would have a blast, right? But I don't see like your diehard grognards or like your OSR folks like going out to something like this. I don't, but this would be a great way to like build some hype for like new players. Invite some new players, to a new, short campaign that you plan to start. And, the first thing you do is all go out and do this one night. And then next week you start your new game.
Yeah, it's cool. The version of this that like appeared in my imagination between learning it existed and like researching what it was is better, but I'm not going to make that. And yeah, I don't know. $40 a ticket seems like reasonable. I was like, oh man, this is some weird dinky cash grab, because it's like you can spend as long as you want in the gift shop and the bar. But yeah, it's fine. They do group discounts, which is nice. There's like kid discounts. So yeah, it seems like a fun. It's giving like arcade. It's giving like Carnival Arcade to me, from what I can tell from the tea leaves of the advertisements here. But there's classes. It's 5 rooms, right? It's a 5-room dungeon in 1 hour. So my DM brain is like, oh man, how immersive can it be? How much gameplay are you gonna get in 60 minutes? But I don't know. Clearly, the people who are making it know D&D. There's a lot of like winky references, and it's set in Forgotten Realms, and they have the licensing, right? Because there's a big picture of the Beholder there, like. It's the Yawning Portal. This is, I don't know. I think it's fine. I don't know if I'll go. I'm definitely not going to Dallas to go there. No offense, Texas, but offense.
The other thing too is, if it makes money, if it's successful, you could evolve it into something far more of what you probably have in mind, right, Ryan? Like, I think there's a lot of cool things you could do with this, and if it takes off and it's profitable, then you could make it, more interesting, more challenging. The way people like build escape rooms, like we have I live in a vacation city, so we got a bunch of escape rooms here, and most of them start off with like 2 rooms, right, when they first came out years ago. And then over time, they've added other rooms, and they added like different difficulty levels. So you have like the 2 rooms that are beginner difficulty levels, and 2 rooms that are, advanced difficulty level. The business expands over time, right? You could do something like that with this. Again, if it's profitable.
I was going to make a Meow Wolf joke, so go for it.
Oh, I love Meow Wolf. Please go ahead.
Maybe do that instead. It's incredible. Oh my God.
Yeah, I thought I had been to all of the Meow Wolves. Right after I came back from seeing the last one in Las Vegas, I got a letter that they were opening up one in Houston. I was like, gosh. I thought I had collected them all. Meow Wolf is great. But I hope that this does well. I hope it does well enough for them to tour with it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be cool. So moving on, the next thing is our very own Brad Wolf from the Dire Den has a game he is going to unleash on it, and that's really all. It's some kind of would you rather. But take it away, Brad.
What? Something happened there.
Do you just?
There we go. There you go.
Okay.
All right. All right. Yeah. So this is D20. Would you rather? So one of you, actually both of you, go ahead, pull up a D20. Pull out a real D20 or pull up
sure
online dice roller. Essentially, you roll the dice and it determines. There you go. It determines your would you rather question, and then we can, discuss accordingly. So, which one of you wants to roll first? Smash or pass?
I got a 6.
Got a 6. All right. So as a DM, would you rather have the egotistical player who's never wrong, or the self-conscious player who's never good enough?
The second one for sure. I will take the I am much more comfortable building you up than trying to tear you down or control. Yeah, I also identify with the second one much more than the first. Not that you know it from being an internet personality. But God, yeah. I mean, I've played with both, and unequivocally, my answer is number 2.
Gotcha.
All
Jim,
right.
you have a take on that one?
Oh yeah, number 2 for sure. For all the same reasons. I just got an 18.
18. All right. So 18. So again, we're real world. Some of these are in world, some of these are real world. So, would you rather deal with players bringing real world disagreements into character interaction, or players showing favoritism to friends or significant others?
I think the first one is a more easily solvable problem.
To address the disagreement between the
Yeah, because maybe they can work their shit out.
yeah.
Whereas the favoritism thing, I don't think you can just stop. I don't think that's someone. I don't think you can just say, "Hey, stop being so nice to Jennifer. I don't like it." That's how it will sound, I think.
Yeah, that's a good
But the
point.
first one, maybe they need to work some stuff out.
Have you had that before, where you've got like players have real world beef with each other, and they come to the table and they like try to shit on each other's character in game?
In just like fleeting moments, not anything sustained that I had to address, but I've seen passive aggressive shit at the table between people who I knew had a didn't see eye to eye about stuff.
Yeah. I had 2 players in a campaign where that like drug on for a couple months, and I finally had to like, oh, you guys either got to work this shit out, or one of you is going to leave.
One feels worse, but there's also a clear ending to it, right? Like, as a guy who had his wife at the table for years, it's a constant process of monitoring. Are you playing favorites? And then are you overcorrecting and actually going after her harder, which I did for a second? And then also, is there a perception that either of those things are happening? And that's before you actually do the math of like, is she expecting you to go easier on her, or is she afraid that you're going to go harder on her? So there's a lot more of like iterations versus like, all right, clearly there's a conflict here. We're experiencing bleed. Do we want to just do a PvP thing for a night or two and get it out of our systems, or do you guys have to not be at the same table anymore? So there's a distinct, clear cut resolution there, one way or another.
No, that makes sense. All right, you guys want to roll a couple more?
Next question.
Hoo ha! 8.
8. We're getting all the real world ones here.
I choose fake worlds. That's my answer. Never real world. Sorry,
right.
go on.
So would you rather play with the stickler DM that limits options in the name of game balance, or the kitchen sink DM that includes anything and everything from third-party creators?
One. I'll take one. If we're all on the same page, like, and that page is from someone else's book and is insane, cool. I'm there. But the like anything goes, it's very hard to have like a cohesive narrative going on, a real vibe. Like, give me limitations, because that sparks creativity. Like, there's three. If you show up with pre-generated characters and you're like, pick one of these, I'm cool. Yeah, sure, great, let's go.
What do you think, Jim?
What was the first one again?
the stickler DM that limits content because of game balance. So like no silvery barbs. You can't play a monk because they're too weak. You know, some stuff like that.
I probably lean more toward the second one. I mean, if the DM is a stickler for game balance, but it's still a really fun table, then okay. You know, that's the defining thing there for me. Less about which rules we follow and more like, is it fun? Because if I see this cool thing and you won't let me have it and it makes the game not fun, you know, hooray for balance, I guess, where I'm doing my part, but I want the cool thing. I don't know. It's there's no that's highly situational for me, I think.
I do think it's a red flag. I feel where you're coming from. Not even understand, but like physically feel it. Of just like someone gives you a document of like, yeah, you want to play in our D&D game. Here are the 12-page that you have to sign off on before you join us. Is like, oh man, I don't actually maybe not. No, thank you. If it's like only PHB, all right, cool, great. If it's like I don't like whatever these particular spells, like divination magic is off the table, and except for this spell and this it's like I can't keep track of all of this. This is no longer. You have a very clear idea of what you want to happen here, and I don't want to be your puppet.
Yeah. All right, Brad, here's my roll. That is 16.
16. Let's see. All right, so would you rather have the know-it-all player always telling you the rules, or the passive-aggressive player whose body language is disappointed with your rulings?
Oh. Wow. I don't know. I relate to both of those characters so hard. I've been both of those characters.
It's a trick question. It's the same guy.
They're both me. That's the answer, Brad. Thank you. Way to make this game personal. I knew you would find a way to do that. No, wow. I've had more experience with the second one, like when I'm running games, than I have with the first one. I guess I would pick the first one, because I can respect it.
Nacho. That's the right answer.
Nacho's not wrong. I won't say what he said, but he's not wrong.
For our listeners in a car somewhere, the quote is both can F off.
Hey, but actually, speaking of Nacho, I wanted to share this before I forgot it. Nacho sent me his Daggerheart Fear Abacus.
Nice.
Check that out.
Very
For those
cool.
of you listening at home, come watch the stream because it's a beautiful picture.
Yeah, Nacho sent me this, and I asked if I could share it on the show, and he said yes. I think this is very cool. I hope you can take the ends off if you need to adjust the number of fear, because I wouldn't always roll with 12. So.
Oh, like the max. I hear you. Yes.
Yeah, like when I ran that 4-shot, I limited myself to 9 because 12 felt like too many for 3 players. I think Daggerheart was more designed for roughly 2 fear per player. That's my interpretation from the rules.
Yeah, we probably wouldn't have survived that final battle if you'd had 12 fear.
No. If I'd had one more fear. Spoilers, sorry. Hey, you should go watch our Daggerheart 4-shot. Yes, you should go watch our Daggerheart 4-shot on the Landlocked Warlocks channel. But moving on, speaking of things that are on things, you might have heard lately about Scorched Abasin, which is a new campaign setting setting is the right word. Campaign setting from Homie and the Dude. And you've probably heard about this because every YouTuber in the world is talking about this. Homie and the Dude basically spread a virus in the D&D tuber community. They have infected everyone. I've got a video coming out on Sunday, and I will be talking about Scorched Basin very briefly in that video. But yeah, Homie and the Dude, Scorched Basin, it is Mad Max Dune inspired. Very deep with lore. It's got IRL dishes you can make when you're playing games in certain parts. It has languages that they've written for this, including one based on ASL. In-world slang, lots of good information about heat and exhaustion and traversing difficult terrain, as you would expect in a post-apoc kind of setting. It's also not 5e specific. It is system agnostic, which I like. What do you guys want to say about Scorched Basin?
Looks great. It seems like a good alternative for. We talked about Dark Sun. Was it last week? Seems like a good option for people who want to do a Dark Sun type campaign without having to delve into the old TSR version or, convert stuff to whatever they're playing. Like this being system agnostic, you can run it in Shadow Dark, run it in 5e, run it in Daggerheart. Just chock full of ideas. They do good stuff.
They do good stuff, and they're good people. So like there's two parts to making a product stop, right? Like does whatever industry you're in. But like you can make an awesome thing, and if no one ever hears about it, no one's ever going to use the thing. And then what's the value of it? So like you do have to get the thing you make out in front of people. And that thing has to be good, right? So like they've got that first part. They're taking big swings. They're doing stuff I don't see anybody else do. They got voiceover packs. They got recipes. Their maps are awesome. I am really actually kind of fascinated with the system agnostic approach to it. I like that sort of thing. I like modularity, universality. That's cool. But the other side of the coin here, Homie and the Dude and the team, because it's more than just the two of them, are putting their focus on the community and not on Meta or Google. They're not doing. You need to create ads somehow, and they're doing it with independent individuals and in an incredibly collaborative way. It's just great. They're very generous with their share because like it's a secret, but like, hey guys, there's money involved here too. But there's I don't see other people doing it exclusively the way they're doing it, as hard as they're doing it and have been doing it. Like they've been focused on approaching this as community oriented as possible for a long time. Like it launched today, but like there's a ton of work into this project stretching back. I mean, I think it's fair to say years. So good on them. They're making an awesome thing, and they are doing stuff the right way, and that's not the easy way.
Yeah. They reached out to me with one of their very first products. And so, they brought me on their show and they interviewed me and stuff like that. Like they have a big Discord community that you can be a part of, but they're also a part of like Dungeon Tuber, Discords that we're all a part of. And they're just very involved and very invested in growing the hobby and collaborating with other independent creators. They're great guys.
All right, so moving on to other people who make things. Runehammer, publisher, YouTuber, has put out a couple products Brad hipped us to. The first being the Venture Forward Digital Edition. And this was to say part rulebook, part adventure book, part papercraft project. Venture Forward can help to sweep aside the things that bog down the game with young players and get the action rolling. Everything here has been developed after over 30 sessions with 8 to 12-year-old heroes. Runehammer is the company that publishes ICRPG. So they know simplified rule sets. And the other thing that they were making...
real quick, Jim.
Yeah, go ahead.
On this kids product, click on the images of the cards. the so it's like they say part papercraft. You can print out the cards, and you actually lay them out. If you go to the image before that, I think if you lay them out, you actually kind of build a character sheet with these cards. So so this is similar to what we talked about earlier with the new D&D starter set, right? So this would be an alternative if you want a card-based system that's easy to teach new players, but you don't want to support WotC. Runehammer has an option here for you that's going to be even sleeker and more streamlined, and this one's specifically designed for kids, so very easy to get started in playing. It just looked like a really cool product. I was impressed with it.
Yeah. Well, I love index card RPGs, so I am cool with anything Runehammer puts out. It's just a 40-page PDF. Then the other thing is they've made some Daggerheart stuff. Hard Suit is a Daggerheart campaign frame. But it says ICRPG Hard Suit. Do you know anything more, Brad? I don't really understand.
So the original Hard Suit game was put out for ICRPG. And so and this is a prequel. So this is set in the same world, but 3,000 years earlier, I think. It's some like, drastic number earlier. So this is like the beginning of the Hard Suit like story, if you will, from a campaign perspective. So it's based on the ICRPG Hard Suit system, and this is Hard Suit Primal, where they basically built a Daggerheart variant with their own cards and everything. So he said you can use this with the free Daggerheart downloadable rule set. So you don't have to have the full version of Daggerheart to play this. You can just have the core rules that are free to download from Daggerheart, and then you add Hard Suit Primal on top of it. And it gives you this whole campaign frame of mechs versus dinosaurs. Sounds pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And I was just impressed how quickly they got this product out. That this is like basically a new version, a new game of Daggerheart, right? So I thought this was a really cool and impressive project for them to have produced this so quickly.
Yeah, I saw some. I think our friend Bob World Builder was talking about making a video about why we haven't seen a lot of Daggerheart products yet. And I mean, one, it was just 3 months ago. Two, their license is a little weird. And three, I think some people are kind of waiting to see how other people do it. I know I am. Like, I have some ideas for adventure content for Daggerheart, but I'm not really sure what the style is for formatting an adventure book yet. There are some people who are like, will keyed maps work with Daggerheart? I mean, yeah, of course they will. There's nothing in Daggerheart that says you can't run a keyed map, but we don't know if that's like the adventure style yet. Is keyed maps, or if it's more montagey. I don't know. I'm waiting to see what other people do first.
Well, this is one of the first third-party things that I'm familiar with for Daggerheart.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know if we've seen anyone make an adventure. If chat, if you know if anyone has made an actual Daggerheart adventure, like a multi-level thing, not just a quick start thing. I mean, Darrington only has a couple really on their own, right? There was the Sablewood Messengers thing that was with the playtest, and then they released. Well,
It's
they
almost like an
updated
adventure generator, right? Like they have like a one shot, like
yeah, they put out
almost
their
like roll
homebrew kit thing, but they had an adventure that was during the playtest. It was like where you would interact with some pirates on an airship. And then they had the Sablewood Messengers, and when they came out with Daggerheart, they updated Sablewood Messengers with the new with final rules, but they didn't do that for the pirate one. That one's just getting swept away. So I don't know. Maybe everybody's waiting to see Darrington put out a hardback with waiting to see what Perkins makes. I don't know. But moving on, the next part of the show is the part of the show that we call the catch up, where we first tell you subscribe to the Landlocked Warlocks. We don't know. You could be watching this on Brad's channel, Ryan's channel, my channel. We don't know. But we want you to subscribe to the Landlocked Warlocks. Twin Steel's cracking me up in the chat today. So what do you guys got going on?
I'm currently getting ready for a new Shadow Dark campaign. Like I said earlier, I've introduced my players to Shadow Dark back when it first came out, and we've been playing one shots this summer, and my players love it. And so we are moving on from 5.5 and starting a whole new Shadow Dark campaign, and might be stealing some ideas from like Critical Role style of West Marches. I might actually have two groups going in the same campaign setting. So I'm working on this big map. I've basically taken the old TSR modules, Secret of Bone Hill, Assassin's Knot, and the Deep Dwarven Delve, which all take place on Lindor Isle and Greyhawk, or, as written. But I've put all three of those together into a big island sandbox.
What's the highest level you've run in Shadow Dark, Brad?
I think 6. So I'll be interested to see how the campaign goes as we go up to level 10. We also play pulp mode, if you're familiar with that. It's in the core book. And that seems to like hit the sweet spot for my players, because pulp mode gives you the ability to do some shenanigans, have an extra action every once in a while, without needing all the extra stuff from 5th edition, like multi-attack and bonus action and all that sort of stuff. You don't need all that with pulp mode. You just have, your we use coins, tokens, luck tokens. You spend a token to do an extra action, or give somebody advantage, or that sort of thing. And it makes it super fun. It makes it a little more survivable. So it's not as deadly in pulp mode. But that's also per DM. I can always turn it up a notch and make it deadly if I want to.
Ryan, what you got going on?
Not much. No, I am.
All right.
A lot of my TTRPG energy is going into my Wednesday night game. We're in Strahd, Curse of Strahd. I'm running it pretty much as written, which, is just the starting point. The players have made a lot of decisions by now, so a lot of wheels are turning. The world is responding to what they're doing. And I'm not struggling, but I'm like examining pacing, which I think is a very interesting thing for a dungeon master, which is it's always a moving target. I've done a very good job of creating atmosphere and making things scary and letting them know that they're not the biggest fish in the pond, and building a sandbox where there's a bunch of options, and explicitly out of game being like, you're going to leave stuff on the table, you're going to have to make choices. And now it's a very player driven situation, and not everyone has the same ideas about what should happen next, and just navigating that this is not a video game, this is a movie. Make your choices. Just because you're facing something that doesn't feel like it's level appropriate doesn't mean you're in the wrong zone or something and have to like go somewhere else, or you can collect all the quests and optimize for solving all of them. It's a thing that you can say and the player can understand rationally, but they don't feel in their bones when it's the fat's in the fire. So they're playing a little scared, which is good in one sense. Like, that was my objective, honestly, was to scare them. I'm running horror. But now it's like, oh, okay. It's also like you have to swing at the pitches. You have to jump. You are now players, you are in control of pacing as much, if not more so, than the Dungeon Master. The Dungeon Master has tools at their disposal to push the gas or hit the brakes or whatever. But in an open world, in a sandbox, the players have to drive the action as well. So that's just been something I've been thinking about more and more. Participating in actual plays helps you realize that a lot, I think, where it's just like, oh, me hesitating and going through my options is not fun to watch. And even if you're not broadcasting your game on the internet, there's still other people at the table watching you, having a good, like, spending their precious free time with you. Make a choice. Do it. I've never seen anyone get mad. I retract that. I've never seen anyone get mad at somebody else and have a good point or be worthwhile. Do the dumbest thing ever. Push the button. Just make a choice. Yes, end it. Go for it. Do stuff. Break stuff. Drive it like you stole it.
Drive it like you stole it. I've got a video coming out on Sunday about box text.
Ooh.
And I've got some opinions. I think this video might make some people mad. I call out a very famous author for writing badly. So
All right.
it's not going to get me in trouble, but there might be some angry comments. For some
I'm going to
people
show
who
up in the
fans.
comments and argue with people for you.
You better, Brad.
Drive some engagement.
So the next thing that we're going to talk about, I'm going to call out somebody right now, actually.
Oh.
So
I don't know why. I assumed it's me. I don't know what I did, but
you know,
apparently I
what
have a guilty.
Ryan Twin Steel wants to know where the sword is.
I fixed it. I fixed the Taroka reading because we did it in person. It was epic. I assigned other things to, like, I gave every player like a character, interact like an NPC relationship. But I fixed it. So people have different opinions about that. My players might be watching this, so I will tell you later. Well, no, they actually no, they know. I did this months ago. They've known for months. I put the sword in. I put the sword in the Amber Temple, and I put the symbol of Ravenkind in the Paladin's hands in Argynvostholt, because I wanted them to come later in the game, and I wanted to make sure they went to those places. And if you give it to like the random shopkeeper's assistant that they meet at level 1, it feels weird to me.
I've deliberately never read that adventure so I could someday play in it. So I don't know what any of these things mean. I've tried 3 times to play Curse of Strahd, and they've all failed.
I did that for a decade, and now I'm running Curse of Strahd.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the book. I own it. It's right over there. It's one of these right here behind my finger. But I just never cracked the spine. But I don't know.
You know
how much
what
longer
we could do, since Ryan's run it. Like, Ryan could just run the Castle Ravenloft part instead of running the whole campaign.
I've heard about that a lot, that you can one-shot the end
One Night
of
in
it.
Strahd's. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I will do that. We're talking in the group, guys. We have a group chat. I don't know if you know that, and we're talking about what's next for the One Page One Shot Club. And there's always this like, hey, are we doing something? And then everybody sits back and is like, who's gonna run the next one? It's me, I think. I broke first. I lost the staring contest. So yeah, things are in motion.
Yeah, well, because the original Castle Ravenloft module was just the castle, right? The AD&D version.
Oh, the OG ones. Oh, yeah. Interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you could take the 5e content and just run that part, because it was originally written like as just the castle. You don't have to do all the like village stuff below.
True. So we've gotten way off topic here. I said I was here to call out somebody.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to run out the clock because I don't want to get in trouble.
All right, then Ryan thought it was him, and all of a sudden he was in 5th grade and he had left his homework at home. No, so earlier this week, so I am a big fan, and I mention him all the time. Sly Flourish, Mr. Mike Shea. He's got his D&D empire is called Sly Flourish, and he is the author of The Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, which I think is one of the seminal texts of our time for this hobby. And I'm being hyperbolic, but I mean it. It's seriously, it's great, fantastic little book. He finally he has a weekly podcast. He finally gave his thoughts on Daggerheart, and I think he had some good criticisms. He had some good praises, and he said one thing that completely broke me, and I need to call him out because he is wrong. He said he read the book and ran Daggerheart for his wife, and that's his full experience with the game. And when he ran combat, his wife got confused a couple times about what a turn is. You know, this is not uncommon. In Daggerheart, it has a different combat system. It has a completely different. It's the most differentest thing about it is the way combat works. Not uncommon that someone might be confused their first time playing the game, especially assuming his wife probably had not read the whole book. So she didn't probably know shit. And so Sly Flourish's conclusion was that Daggerheart needs an initiative system because the combat's too messy without it. He said, if you just add initiative, it will all make sense. And I'm here to tell you, Sly Flourish, you are incorrect. Because I'm the steal these rules guy, right? I love Frankensteining systems. I love taking little bits of this and ooh, this thing over here, and I'm going to throw this at my players because they're probably not familiar with it, and that's going to be fun. And I love doing all this sort of stuff. But there is a point where if you take all the planks out of the ship, it's no longer the same ship, right? You know, how much of the ship can you replace when it gets damaged until it's a whole new ship, right? And Daggerheart, hope and fear and initiative, the way that works in combat, hope and fear is the whole core of the stinking game. And if you put initiative in it, which by the way, initiative is the only place in combat's the only place in Dungeons and Dragons that has initiative. People aren't really calling for initiative in other areas. So Daggerheart just has one fewer initiative areas of the game that has initiative than Dungeons and Dragons does. So it doesn't need to have initiative because the dynamism of hope and fear and the fact that no one knows, not even the dungeon master, no one knows who's going next is the heart of the game. And if you add initiative, then you take all that away.
Yeah. I agree. I too am a fan of Sly Flourish and rarely disagree with the man, but I am Team Jim.
Somebody tell me I'm wrong. Somebody disagree with me.
I agree with your premise. I do like that Sly Flourish is like, hey, I played this for 3 hours. I'm gonna say all of my first thoughts now for posterity, so we can revisit and see what I'm wrong about and what I've changed my mind about when I've had more experience with the thing, which is a brave thing to do on the internet, especially with you ravenous nerds out there who are going to come after everybody. So points for that. I do think he's wrong. I do think the first time you play a game, you're going to have a lot of questions. Probably things that seem finicky are going to be intuitive after you've experienced them, right? Like the first time you sit down with Daggerheart and he talks about this, like, okay, I have armor and stress and these thresholds, and there's just like this one or two too many things to keep track of. You play the game for an hour or two, it's all yeah, perfect. Actually, this is exactly the amount of things we need. Great. You don't need initiative or any sort of system in play if you have a good rapport with the people at the table. I could see your 14-year-olds, you don't have good, it's difficult to speak on the internet. It's like even in a Zoom meeting, it's easier to talk over each other. There's fewer social clues. There's a delay between you opening your mouth and me hearing what you're saying. That delay typically is the speed of light. So we live in an amazing era, but still, if you're not making room you have to actively make room for the other people. Having some sort of turn order can lessen the need for that, honestly, set of social skills. One thing that came out of it that I really liked, though, which I didn't know, he described Kevin Crawford's version of popcorn. And I'm not saying this is a better thing to do in Daggerheart, but in general, if you're looking for an innovative new way to approach initiative tracking, popcorn is the player says who's coming up next. And maybe you need that. Maybe you can't pass around the conch shell for who's allowed to speak right now. But Kevin Crawford, you call out the next person before you take your turn, not after. So you're declaring who's on deck. And even if you're doing like vanilla D&D 5e initiative, that might be a good thing to put it on the players to be tracking initiative and calling each other out like, hey, you're next. Maybe consider what you're going to do. So when it comes around to you, you can just do stuff. So that was the best takeaway I got from that. But yeah, he's wrong. Fear and hope being the resolution is kind of the point of the game, and creates this chaotic rhythm that is the most interesting part of Daggerheart.
Not sure your question here, starting with a one shot with pre-gens or session 0 building characters. It's way faster to build characters in Daggerheart than it is in D&D. So you could probably get to do your session 0 and build your characters in the first 30 to 45 minutes of the session, and then actually run the one shot. I mean, you know, the great barrier to me to getting people into D&D, or one of the great barriers, is that pre-gens suck and it takes too long to build a character. You know, pre-gens are fine, but like it's not the guy that I want. It's like the whole point is I get to make a guy, and then I can make him do things, do cool things, and he'll struggle and he'll win. And, you know, that's I get to make the guy. And if you give me a guy, yeah, it's way faster. But it's not my guy.
Yeah. Well, and that's been my advice for session 0s for a long time, is like, you know, there's all sorts of good things you can do in a session 0. My goal is trying to get as much of that done in an hour or less, so that, you know, you spend an hour on your session 0. I play 3-hour sessions, so you still have 2 more hours to play. So you can run a short introduction to the campaign setting, or you can do like a prequel almost, kind of like you know, how do these characters meet kind of adventure in your 2 hours, and then, you know, your next week's session starts, you know, a year in the future, you know, a year after the events of the session 0, right? There's all sorts of things you can do where, you know, you can do a little introductory, you know, game as part of your session 0. I'm a big fan of doing that. So you're actually playing the night you run. You know, you make your characters, and everybody, you know, does all the session 0 stuff. Still get to roll some dice and kill some monsters.
Oh, you know, now I see why you guys were confused when I started talking about this, because I skipped our roundtable discussion in the agenda. That's probably why this was confusing. We skipped our roundtable discussion. So as usual, we're going to get to our roundtable discussion now, later than we intended.
So close to nailing it.
So close. Next week, though, we'll work out all these kinks. Be super professional next week, I promise. You come back, you'll see. So I saw that D&D in a Castle. You see some of these guys here. I don't know if they're in a castle, but so D&D in a Castle also now offers Dungeon Master University, and D&D in a Castle also offers certain D&D weekends, which are not in the castle; they're just at places. But so this 4 courses, 2 days. It looks like it's about $1,000. Or maybe it was 500. Anyway, it was very expensive for classes. I don't know if you get some kind of certificate at the end that says that you are a certified dungeon master. But this just got me thinking. You know, I'm an author, and there is a really big grift in the author industry about teaching authors to be authors. There's a lot of money to be made scamming idiot authors and telling them that they need all these different things before they can write and sell their books. And I'm not saying that D&D in a Castle is doing this. I would never accuse them of anything like that. I'm just saying, my question is, how much education do you need? Do you need specifically education to be a dungeon master? Is the question I wanted to open up to the floor.
Short answer, no. There's a difference between being a dungeon master and a good dungeon master. You know, I wouldn't have started a YouTube channel if I didn't think there was like an educational component to being a good dungeon master, like you got to learn some skills. You know, I don't know if you need to pay for it when, like, how many YouTube channels are there out there with all of us telling you, here's some ideas, here's what you can do, think about it this way. Like, there's a lot of free content out there to learn how to be a dungeon master.
Yeah, I think you're spending, it is like $1,000, and it's per course, I think, right? That's not the semester. It's like it's 1,000 per class. I think what you're spending $1,000 on is hanging out with the people. Like if you see the faculty, I don't know how they're framing it, but the people who are giving these talks are who's who. Keith Baker's up in there. Clint McElroy were the two that I was the most excited. There you go. Yeah, B. Dave Walters. There's a lot of cool, interesting Monty Cook. A lot of cool, interesting people. So like people would spend $1,000 to sit in a room with Monty Cook and 20 other people and ask questions about world building for 4 hours or whatever. I wouldn't. But I don't got it like that, I guess. But like I think that's the value proposition here in this. It does feel a little bit like paying for a course on how to make courses, you know? There is an element of that in all of these things.
Mhm.
So I'm of two minds about the whole thing.
But it's a good point, Ryan. I mean, I paid, close to $3,000 to go to Green Dragon Fest because, I got the exclusive ticket to go and then paid for the fancy room on site. And you're just paying for the experience. And was it worth it? Hell yeah! To like play, to play in Runehammer's game alongside Kelsey Dion, that was totally worth my time and money. I got to meet Bob Worldbuilder and play with, Ted from Nerd Immersion and a bunch of other folks. And, it was a great experience. Can I afford to do that every year? No. But it was worth it. It was a blast. So if you're looking at it that way, yeah, sure.
I want to point out here the platinum tier at $22.50. You get the chance to run a game at the Game Lab with one of our faculty as a player and receive feedback on your game from that faculty. If you ever wanted to run D&D with one of your players had a clipboard, so you can get super self-conscious anytime they write something down. Wait, why'd you write? Was that a bad? Should I have done something different there? Why'd you write that?
I get my anxiety for free, thank you.
There's a certain kind of person who knows that there are 20,000 free hours of D&D educational content on YouTube. There's a certain kind of person who knows all that, and the fact that this costs $1,000 makes the information seem a lot more attractive.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in the author business. Every scammer out there has got a course called Finding Your 1,000 True Fans, and it's exclusive. And they put a bunch of their stuff on their good stuff on the internet for free, and then to get behind the paywall, you have to pay all this money. And there's this idea that when you pay for the information, it's better. It's this idea that a $20 steak is better than a $10 steak, right? It might be. I don't know. I wouldn't sign up for this, but I, thank God for a lot of that free education on YouTube. Matt Colville's channel was one of the things that got me back into the hobby in the 20 teens. It was just the availability of that. Because before, if you wanted a Matt Colville in your life, you had to go spend a lot of time at the game store and sit around and wait for somebody to educate you.
And it wasn't always good quality. You had a lot of grognards hanging out in game stores with a lot of opinions that you should only play this edition and you need to kill your players and blah blah blah.
There was a time before the internet where people could say stuff and you couldn't verify if it was true or not. You could just be hanging at the bar and somebody would be like, "Did you know Sylvester Stallone is gay?" And you'd be like, "What, really?" And you You'd never have any way to verify that information for the rest of your life. You might just believe that because somebody said it at a bar before the internet. Anyway.
And that's and that's where a lot of our urban legends come from. It's like the years before the internet when people just made shit up to mess with you.
Yeah, everyone's on the same page now about what's real.
Yeah, the internet's been really helpful about that, right?
Yeah, fair point. All right, so moving on to the last thing we're going to talk about. We were talking about Powered by the Apocalypse earlier. Well, Apocalypse World, the game that launched the Powered by the Apocalypse system that was later most famously probably turned into the Forged in the Dark system for Blades in the Dark, but has inspired lots of games like Kids on Bikes, Monster of the Week, and so on and so forth. They are kickstarting a 3rd edition of the game. And I don't know when it is launching, but you can sign up for that on Kickstarter. You guys ever played Apocalypse World specifically?
I have not. My Powered by the Apocalypse game that I've enjoyed most is Monster of the Week. That's my that's the one I'm most familiar with all the Powered by the Apocalypse stuff.
I played Dungeon World a few years ago, and I found that was pretty fun. It was a nice distillation of the rules. So that was sort of before people used to talk about Dungeon World a lot before Shadow Dark came along. And Shadow Dark pretty much filled that niche of D&D, but simple.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting it's not hype, the influence to the hobby versus the amount of people playing Apocalypse World, I think is maybe the most inverted fraction that I can think of, right? Like Apocalypse World's influence on the hobby is immense. Like
it's a good point.
It's your favorite game maker's game, right? Right? It's just the landscape is different because Vincent Baker and the other person whose name escapes me right now, I apologize, made this, 15 years ago now? It's been a while, and time keeps on moving at an inexorable pace, but the amount of systems that have this game's DNA built into them is immense. And other games, like you can trace a line from Apocalypse World to Daggerheart, right? Like some elements of Daggerheart design. The D&D starter set that we opened talking about it, like these just like modular card-based things. It's D&D through and through, but like just even in the presentation, Forged in the Dark, Apocalypse World, Powered by the Apocalypse, hugely influential, changed the way people view what these games can do and be, and that is an incredible legacy. So like, I don't know, I might pick this up. I'm excited for a new version of that. I've never actually played vanilla Apocalypse World, so maybe it's time.
I haven't either, but I'd like to. I love post-apoc stuff. I love Mad Max. I love Dune. I love all that kind of stuff. Well, because I mixed up the topics, we kind of ran out of stuff to talk about a little early. So get out your Dungeon Master's Guide. Everyone open to chapter 2, please.
All right. Finally. It's been like a year.
No, I don't even remember a lot about what is in that book. I'm sure Ryan's probably dipped into the DMG a lot more recently than I have.
It's all up here. The last thing I reached for was the old one for like the Madness tables. The new DMG's too woke for insanity somehow. Or I don't know. Sorry, clip that, ruin us all.
We could talk about Dark Sun. How crazy it is they're doing Dark Sun. Dark Sun not confirmed.
Not confirmed. It's exciting. I want to see big swings, do new stuff, do weird things. I mean, okay, it's a revamp, but it's a revamp I never thought you would do. Like, I'm tired of Forgotten Realms, man. I am. I like it, but like, Do something different, please. And if it's Dark Sun, whoa, cool. I'm excited. Even if it's gonna burn the house down,
I
let's try it.
I feel like it's time, right? Like, people have been asking for 5e Dark Sun for like the longest time. And I mean, WotC's been stepping on rakes left and right. So, if they put out Dark Sun and it falls flat, like, most people would expect it to, right? If, it ends up being like Spelljammer and everybody's disappointed in it. I mean, what harm is that? Like, they've done it so much, that's what we expect. So, I mean, are we really going to be that disappointed if they mishandle Dark Sun? But if they put out Dark Sun and they do it well, that could bring a lot of people back to WotC products.
Yeah, Twin Steel, I don't think they're going to make a whole adventure book about rugs. I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I, for one, am excited to see how badly they screw up this Dark Sun launch. It is going to be a thing of beauty and chaos, and I cannot wait. Because I've seen the future.
And it's a bunch of angry internet trolls.
It is people on both sides of the political aisle angry about Dark Sun for different reasons. And WotC, despite their best efforts, will fail no matter what they do.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen.
I mean, that is the world we live in, right? Like, can anybody do anything well these days? I feel like everything has to get attacked from both sides. And definitely from the internet. Like,
but that's like liberating in a sense of like, it's baked in anyway, right? Like, I was on my soapbox earlier about not playing these games scared. Like, also that applies to creators too. Like, take swings, go for it. If they're coming after you anyway, because I don't know, there's too many or not enough LGBTQ plus people in your game, then like, they don't count anymore. If I know what you're going to say, I'm not interested in what you're saying anymore. Haha. You're done. So yeah, make Dark Sun, make it cool, do some weird stuff that I don't even expect, or step on a bunch of rakes. I don't care. Just stop playing scared. Take some big swings. 5.5 is them playing scared. We want to make a brand new edition that's not different at all.
Yeah.
Cool. Boring. All right. What else you got?
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard not to offend people in a world where everybody wants to be offended. I say that, you got sensitive, overreactive people on both sides of every issue. We're groomed to be angry and offensive.
It's more fun.
It's more fun that way.
It's more fun. Yeah.
Gets more views.
Gotta get those clicks, baby. We're here to get those clicks. I should have said at the top of the show that I was going to be calling out another YouTuber. I should have said that. Just gonna go better clicks. Would have gotten the clicks.
If you say it now, really angry and hard, and we'll cut it and we'll put it in the front.
Just cut it and put it back at the top.
We can do that, right?
The scandal has gotten worse. No, it hasn't. There's no scandal. But I think we should probably wrap this up. We're running out of stuff to talk about. And so I want to thank you for watching. We love you. We're glad you're here. Casualties. I like that name. I hope it sticks. And we're thrilled that you were Casualties. Go check out Scorched Basin. Homie and the dude are good people. And if you go to D&D in Plano, let us know how it was. And so we are out of here, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Peace.